Hello viewer, a warm welcome to Elimu TV where you watch and learn. Today I welcome you to our Form 2 Geography Lesson 4. Our subtopic will be folding. We look at the preview of the last lesson. In the last lesson, we looked at what is a plate tectonic, the types of boundaries, and in the types of boundaries we have extension boundary, compressional boundary, and transform boundary. In case you missed any of our lesson, please watch the TV on Thursday and Friday, where we'll have a repeat of all the lessons that we have had. In our today's lesson, we will look at folding. Before we get into the deeper meaning of what folding is, once in our life, we always take something and fold. How do you fold something? Do you compress it? Do you fold if it's your clothes? Do you fold it nicely in a good way that you can hang them or you can keep them in a safe way? So in our geography today, before we start our lesson, we will look at the objectives, what you should be able to do as a learner by the end of the lesson. So by the end of the lesson, you should be able to define folding. You should be able to state the different types of fold. So by the end of the lesson, those are the two things that you should be able to do. Definition of folding. Well, folding occurs when plates collide with each other. The pressure becomes so great that the Earth's crust becomes buckled and arcs upward, forming fold mountains. So there is a lot of pressure coming from two different directions, and when this pressure is high, you see that folding is likely to occur. So some fold mountains include the Alps, the Rocky Mountains, and the Andes Mountains. So these were formed during the Alpine foldings about 35 million years ago. Below is an image of folding. So you see there is pressure in two different directions that is coming together. As a result of this pressure, we have the land bending or folding. So this is what we will call folding. Let's look at the parts of a fold. So the part of the rock that acts up is called the upholds or the anticline. The part that forms depressions are called the downfold or synclines, and the central line in the arclines or cyclines is called the axis. The highest part of the anticlines is the crest. On our diagram, we have said that the part that sinks downward is called the syncline, with the part that goes up, we call it the anticline, so the anticline. So it is well labeled on this diagram. We have the limbs. These are the parts that are being affected. And in the middle, we have a straight line. So this straight line represents the highest part of the fold, and this we will name it as the crest. We look at types of folds. We have the simple asymmetrical fold. So it occurs when compression forces of equal pressure from the opposite direction are involved, and therefore the layers of the rock bend gently to form anticlines and cyclines. So simple symmetrical, from its term simple, it's something that occurs in a simple way. There is no much pressure in it, and it's symmetrical. That means that it is equal in either sides. Here is an image of the simple symmetrical fold, and from what I have just explained, you see that their crests are equal on both sides, and it occurs in a very simple way. And here we have both limbs are equal and stiffness because compression occurs from the opposite side. Asymmetrical fold, this is number 2. So it is also called the monoclinical fold. Here we have one limb is steeper than the other, and they are not symmetrical. So not symmetrical means one side is going to be steeper than the other side. Here's an image of an asymmetrical fold. We are saying that one limb is steep, where we have the lines in between, that is the crest. They have been labeled AP. We see that they are not in a regular way once they are steeper. So this is the asymmetrical fold. You see that it is different from the symmetrical fold because of the difference in steepness. The way each limb folds, this makes the difference in between them. Number 3, we have the overfold. So the overfold is also called the overturned fold, and this happens when one fold is pushed over the other limb due to increasing pressure. And here you have both limbs are sloping on the same direction. If you look on our image, you see that the limbs look like they are forming a pattern. This is because when there's a lot of pressure and one limb is going to be pushed over the other, so they end up forming something like a pattern, and they may occur in a series or just one fold. We have the recumbent fold. So the recumbent fold happens when strong compressional forces is exerted on crustal rocks from one side with weak forces coming from the opposite side. Here is an image of the recumbent fold. So what I've just said is that when you have one pressure occurring on one side, it makes the rocks on this side more heavier, and it ends up being weak, and thus it is pushed to the extent of the other limb. It makes the axis look horizontal. So we said that the axis is the point in the middle between any two folds. That makes it to either be symmetrical or asymmetrical. So here is an image of the recumbent folds. You see they are almost parallel to each other. We have the overthrust fold, and it is also called the nape. So it occurs when the pressure is very high and exceeds the elastic limit of the rocks in the crust. So when you have a high pressure, it will make the rocks of the earth to exit its elastic limit, and so this will lead to a fracture, causing the upper limb to be pushed over the lower limb. Here is the image of the overthrust fold. So when there is extremely powerful compressional forces which causes recumbent folds to fracture, the limb that has the highest pressure will go over the limb with the weakest pressure. So it ends up being on top of the weak limb. So this is the image of an overthrust fold. We have the summary. Well, we have come to the end of our lesson. We have the summary for today's different types of folds. So in our image, you have the symmetrical fold. The symmetrical, it is equal on either sides of the limb. From our image here, you can see the first image there. It is very symmetrical. That is, it is equal on either sides. We have the asymmetrical. The one limb is overlying on the other side, while the overfold, they tend to they tend to fall on another fold. That's why you call it the overfold. We also have the recumbent fold. You can SMS us on 4007. Tweet us at elimu TV_KE.